Rated mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised. Broadcasting from the Big Peach of Atlanta, Georgia. A show unfiltered, unscripted, raw. The Patriot Angle Podcast. Alrighty, guys. Welcome. Joining us today, guys, we got Jerry from US Freedom Fighters on the podcast today. Welcome, Jerry. How are you?
Afternoon, everyone. Always a great pleasure to be on the Patriot Angle podcast. Doing great. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Getting through the week a little bit. It's been a rough week here, but getting through it. How's everything on your end?
It's been a good week. Crazy week as always, but good.
I hear you. Jerry, I want to open up the show today with just a couple topics here. Bringing into this new topic here. Notice a lot of people are really not touching on this topic, which I think deserves to be on the airwaves. A fourth stimulus check, possibly either next month or in the coming months. What are your thoughts on that?
I tell you, that's a subject that you find two polarities on. Either people are greatly for it or dead set against it. There's no middle ground. Is it troubled times for many families? Definitely. You know, I'm sure, don't doubt that there's a lot of families out there that it could help to get us another stimulus. But the reality is, why are we in this position that we're having to depend so on the government?
Right. And I know you guys touched that on your show a lot, in between your talks.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just, there's nothing for free. Somebody's got to pay for it. And in my opinion, a lot of what we're seeing now in this inflation is where we're all paying for some of those previous stimulus. Short-term fix, yes, but throwing money is only a short-time fix at problems. It never solves anything long-term.
Right. Right. As our great founding fathers once said, um, less government is better than big government. Um, I think they point those words very well, because when we have a big government, that's where the power trips come into place, so to speak, by these politicians.
Well, I tell you, to me, we're seeing the roles reversed. At one time, the government was supposed to support the citizens. Now, the citizens are supporting the people in the government offices, and not in a good way either. We're lining their pockets to ignore us. In all honesty.
Right, and I agree with you on that, Jerry. It's as I see it, my personal opinion on the stimulus checks is, maybe the first one was necessary, but then when they rolled out the second, and then just recently the third one, earlier this year, and then into late last year, November, December, whenever time frame you had got it deposited into your bank, I thought it was getting a little too far, with the so-called free money. I don't think it was booming the economy, so to speak. You know what I mean?
I don't either, in all honesty, and it's kind of odd to me that we see chatter about the Great American Resignation, but now we're hearing about a stimulus. So We got people quitting jobs, so we're going to throw more money out there.
Yeah.
I mean, now, don't get me wrong. If these folks are leaving their jobs to pursue their dreams, I'm 100% for that.
Right.
But now we know in reality that's not what a lot of it is. A lot of it, people are quitting because of mandates and all, and feeling like they have no choice. Would the money help those people? Yeah, absolutely. You
Absolutely.
know, but we have to. We don't need to reward dependence either. You
Right.
know, to me that when I need somebody to depend on me, I think the psychiatric world calls that codependent. We've developed a codependent government, and it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be like that at all. I mean, because in the so-called heydays of our society, our grandparents, our great grandparents, and our family members before them, they didn't have credit cards, they didn't have lines of credit, they didn't have loans or payday advances, they didn't have any of that. If you didn't have the money or you didn't have the financial abilities, then sadly you would starve. You know.
Well, you hear a lot here lately about the misinformation and how mass media is turning into a propaganda machine. It goes beyond that. Yes, they're telling us what to think, but
Yeah.
they're creating desires in our life, telling us that things will make us happy if we get them and go out and buy them, and we pursue them and we buy them, and they don't make us happy. So they're setting us up in a cycle to even become m- more dependent on the rat race. And
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you hit the nail right on the topic, and I want to spin off a little bit of one of your members there at USFF. General Mike, I believe, had touched on that a couple episodes back on your podcast. Similar words, where is our society going? Um, is it too late to turn back the pretty much the hands of time, so to speak?
well, that reminds me, my memory is horrible. You'll have to forgive me. I don't remember exactly who made the quote, but I do remember the quote. It said, "A country can survive a corrupt or horrible president.
Yeah,
What a country can't survive is the stupidity that elected him."
the the ignorance is bliss, pretty much, Jerry.
Absolutely. You
You know,
know, if the can it be changed? Yes, but it's going to take people getting educated, and we can have people screaming from rooftops the truth, but if people don't want to hear it, they're not going to listen. So we
Mhm.
have to make sure we've got people out there willing to educate people, and we got to make somehow convince people to want to be educated to understand what's really going on.
and
And sadly, many don't want to see that.
yeah, and that kind of moves us along with the next topic here. With this battle for free speech, censorship. I mean, we're seeing it on platforms such as Spotify. Choosing to stand up for freedom of speech. Freedom to assemble, so to speak, where the government officials are demanding, podcast hosts such as Joe Rogan, Dan Bongino, to be censored. You know, it's terrible, Jerry. What's
It
going on?
is. Yeah, I mean, and you mentioned some pretty big names that it affects, and I follow them both closely, and they're not against our country.
No, no,
They are against anybody that wants to pervert our Constitution,
right.
and I stand 100% with them on that.
So
But some of the labels our government officials are putting on them,
yeah,
that's it's just ridiculous. The things that some of these people that are trying to get the truth out, the way they're being treated is just insane.
and what's sad is we're you as a podcast host, whether you're Joe Rogan or Dan Bongino or the great Michael Savage of the Savage Nation, when you speak out against the tyranny, the socialism, everything that's going on in this country, you are labeled as a wrong individual, sometimes labeled as a racist and a bigot, and all these names that they shout out you. It's terrible. Like, just because you speak the truth, they don't want to hear that. That's what it seems like.
Absolutely. And I'm going to be honest with you. We see a lot of that with our group. Maybe we didn't pick the best name, U.S. Freedom Fighters. People hear or see fighters and they automatically assume the worst, that we're some militia or not. That's not the case by any means. To me, a person out planting a garden is a fighter because they're fighting against the supply chain shortage that our government has caused.
Every single day. Yep.
But people are so scared of being labeled. I've had people tell me, "Oh, U.S. Freedom Fighter sounds like a great group," but I'm afraid to be associated with groups like that. That's
Mm,
a sad time in
that's
America, what's supposed to be the land of the free and the brave.
Yeah, right. Old Liberty is basically crying in the Hudson River there in the New York Bay. Literally seeing what's going on in her country.
Absolutely, that her head's hanging, and it's a shame.
Yeah, her head is basically looking towards the ground, like you said, in shame. Um, but you mentioned your name, U.S. Freedom Fighters. It's a shame that people see that name and they think, is it a militia? Is it a hate group? Is it this? Is it that? When I hear the name U.S. Freedom Fighters, first I hear the name U.S. and then I hear freedom. And at the end, I hear fighters. You are a group that is fighting for freedom, fighting for the American conservatism of patriots all around us.
Absolutely,
And I do the same thing. At least I try to do the same thing. People hear the same name, the Patriot Angle podcast, and they want to know what it's about. Well, Patriot Angle. There's so many angles in our politics today, our society, our nation, and sometimes you have to explain those angles to talk about the positive angles in
Ab-
life.
absolutely. I mean, if you want to move in a direction of improvement, you have to understand where you're moving from, and that
Absolutely.
that requires discussion.
Oh, absolutely, Jerry.
And discussion to me is a conversation between me and you, for example, where we both have confidence and feeling the freedom and liberty to say whatever we feel led to say. No, that doesn't give us a ticket to be abusive to each other,
Right.
but we should be able to present our perspectives on all things. That's how we create understanding.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. And I basically kind of touched a little bit of what you're talking about just the other day about an episode I had where are we becoming the political prisoner? And a lot what we're talking about today relates to a lot of that. Seriously, I mean, are we becoming the political prisoner today in our society with the mandates, with the masking, with the forced vaccines, unconstitutional in my view. It's affecting us all. I never thought in my wildest day, Jerry, that I would see a type of society we're living in right now due to force health decisions by the federal government.
Absolutely. I mean, it's getting, we're not the land of the free anymore
No,
because we've gave up our freedom. because somebody told us we should be scared of this or that, and we wanted to be protected, but we were too lazy to do it ourselves, so we wanted to depend on big government. So we made a deal with the devil.
Pretty much. And it all started with those little words a few years back. Folks, we only have 12 days to slow the spread.
Absolutely.
I remember them like they were yesterday, and 12 days turned into damn near almost 3 years. And what we are seeing right now, it's terrible. I mean, we are seeing everything all over the world. The other couple episodes back, I touched on the Freedom Convoy, with the Canadian truckers and what's going on with them. So
Absolutely. But that's something too that you brought up, even our our First Amendment. But look at how you brought up the convoy in Canada. Look what GoFundMe is trying to do there. Thank goodness folks stood up to
and speaking of the GoFundMe uh, organization, the people that are wanting to suspend that campaign. Uh, to my knowledge, they received over $500 million worth of donations all over.
them.
And
Absolutely.
now all of a sudden, Jerry, they want to cancel it because supposedly there was some fraud in it.
Well, what it is so from my understanding and research I've done, supposedly some police department contacted them, one of the cities this convoy was going through, and told them that it had turned violent
Okay.
and unrest. Well, GoFundMe said their stance was they only backed peaceful protest.
Right.
And since this uh, police department told them it had turned violent, they suspended the GoFundMe money raiser, but they also said that they were going to distribute the money. They were only going to refund so much of the money, and then they were going to redistribute it to the supported charities of GoFundMe.
Ain't that something? You
And of
know,
course, they had a bunch of pushback. Now they're saying they're going to refund all the money to everybody. But at first it was they were only going to refund the money to people that donated a certain way, so it was easier for them to trace or something. I don't remember
yeah.
the exact specifics, but a cop
No.
out.
And where was the media on the topic of Black Lives Matter and Antifa with their donations and their charity campaigns? What was it last summer? I
Absolutely.
don't hear the media talking about that. I
Nope. And
mean,
and that was some of the stuff that was brought up because of this latest thing with GoFundMe, where they had no problem with supporting that stuff. So why now?
yeah, I guess they support rioting. I guess they support looting. I guess they support burning down federal buildings and destroying monuments. I guess that's okay in their eyes.
Absolutely. It just makes no sense. I mean, it it's kind of like the old saying goes: the squeaky wheel gets the noise.
Yeah, I guess that's the new norm now in America. I guess that is the new America. That might as well just change the name to the divisional states of America. I mean, because there's more division in this country than ever before.
Absolutely, and that's the exact reason they don't want that understanding. They don't want that communication we were talking about earlier, because that's the tool that you fight division with, is understanding.
Yeah, and you guys talk about it all the time. What happens if we ultimately have to bug out? You know, um, what happens if we have to just literally go to that avenue? I constantly hear
Absolutely,
that on your podcast. Jerry, we're just about there. Are they going to come after that next? Where you're not allowed to pretty much live off the grid. You're not allowed to homestead. You're not allowed to do any of that. That's pretty much the next agenda, I think.
well, they're already doing that in a lot of states. You know, there's states that you can't even collect rainwater in.
Yeah, Brad had touched down on that on my podcast about 4 or 5 episodes back. With it's a felony in his state where you're not allowed to do that.
Well, I do a lot of traveling with my work out to Colorado Springs,
Okay.
and and there's a lot of land in South Colorado and reasonable prices. I was looking at 40 acres out there for $25,000.
Oh wow.
But the only way you can collect rainwater or snow is to use it for agricultural or farm animals. You couldn't use it for cooking or any other gray water. It had to be livestock or agricultural.
So basically, cooking and bathing and stuff like that. That's out of the question then.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's terrible.
And that's to me that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
Who gave them ownership of the rain? Who gave them ownership of the
I
snow?
mean, yeah. Apparently, they owned. They put. What is that called? They inherited Mother Nature, right? They own Mother Nature. I mean, I I hear some of these totalitarian type of polities because that's what we're living in right now, Jerry. A totalitarian, excuse me, I had to pronounce that correctly. Type of government. It's a new modern form of a socialist government.
I
You
have to
know,
agree with you completely.
I mean, we're seeing attack on everything. We're seeing attack on free speech. We're seeing attack on our liberties. We're seeing attack on our farmers. I mean, everything in this country, everything, inflation, the stimulus. We were talking about the stimulus earlier in the show. The inflation was caused by the stimulus checks.
Absolutely.
I mean, you got Biden basically saying these stimulus checks are going to be very, very well worth it. They're going to stimulate the economy. No, Joe, you have it backwards, buddy. It's going to make more people not want to work, and that's where we are today.
Absolutely.
It's just,
I mean, you know, I wished that the writing wasn't on the wall, but I'm afraid it's there. And unless some Americans come together and get an eraser and we start changing that writing on the wall, we're gonna have a few rough chapters ahead of us.
I'm telling you, the midterms are right around the corner. The general election is right around the corner. Um, in my words here, as I close up the show, um, our great former president Donald Trump uh, wasn't a man of the best words. Sometimes didn't know when to keep his mouth shut, but he always delivered for the people, and he always put America first.
Absolutely.
Jerry, it's time to put this country first. Uh, we're a
I,
laughing stock.
I agree. We got to get that fire lit under that American spirit once again and watch
Yeah,
that eagle soar.
that the eagle is not flying high anymore. The eagle is starting to swoop down, and if we're not careful, the eagle is going to crash into a mountain
Uh,
or
you,
trees.
you're absolutely right. Now is the time for every American to decide they're going to be that feather to help that eagle soar and
Yes,
stand and make a difference.
I agree with you, Jerry. I want to thank you for coming on the show. Um, always love to have you or Brad or General Mike or any member of the U.S. Freedom Fighters family joining the Patriot Angle podcast.
We always enjoy being on the Patriot Angle podcast and appreciate your support, brother.
I thank you very much, guys.
Everyone have a good evening.
Take it easy, Jerry.
You just heard an episode of the Patriot Angle podcast, an Anchor platform.